Hi, and welcome to USMA Orgo. This is Chapter 3, Acids and Bases. Again, another important chapter in the basics of organic chemistry to make sure you get a good firm foundation of what's going on for the rest of the course. So some basic concepts and definitions you cover in this chapter is concept of Bronsted-Lowry acids and bases, which deals with the transfer of protons. And then talk a little bit about acids and bases in water. That's when you're going to talk about the hydronium and the hydroxide ion being formed. And then you're going to talk about using curved arrows to draw mechanisms. And this is the bread and butter of organic chemistry. This is how you show how how electrons move in order to logically make bonds and break bonds. Page 107 gives you some steps to follow, and just as long as you remember, you're going to go from electron rich to electron poor. You should be alright with your electrons. It's just determining which is the most electron rich and most electron poor in the species or mixture, and then drawing the arrow from electron rich to electron poor. Another important concept is the concept of Lewis acids and bases. That's when we talk about Lewis and acids and bases in terms of electron pairs, and whether it's an acceptor or donor. So important definition and way of thinking about an acid and base through electron pairs. Then we'll talk about hydrolysis, and that's the formation of carbon ions or carbocations, just how bonds break. Then another very important concept is the nucleophile versus electrophile. So if you remember that phile means seeking or loving, then you shouldn't have a problem remembering that a nucleophile is looking for a nucleus, and electrophile is looking for, it loves electrons. So a nucleophile usually has extra electrons and it's going to find a place to put those electrons. An electrophile is short electrons and is looking to gain electrons. And then finally on this page is acid-base strength. So we usually use the pKa to determine or to describe the strength of an acid and base in this chapter. You can read a little bit more about how to go about doing that. And then another important thing is to predict the strength and the outcome of a acid-base reaction. So page 118 talks about that, gives you some steps to do that. Then it goes into several sections on structure and activity relationships. So again, based back from chapter 1 and 2, electronegativity trends are going to be very important in this, determining the structure and the acidity of relationships. And back to chapter 1, hybridization. Specifically, you're going to talk about alkenes and alkynes, and this how much S character they have, and that will give you the strength of that acid. And then talk about the inductive effect, which is the sharing of electrons through sigma bonds. So when you have one molecule, say HCl, where you have hydrogen has some electrons, chlorine has some electrons, and you can share, it's the sharing of these two electrons, which is the inductive effect. And then there's also delocalization. So delocalization has to do with the movement of electrons through the pi system. So in this case, electrons can move further if you have multiple p orbitals. So electrons from here, or this carbon, can actually be shared all the way across to the last carbon in this case. Then there's a solvent effect. So solvents can surround ions and molecules, can make them more stable. It can weaken acids, and then there's also this concept of protic versus aprotic. So take a look at that. And then we're starting the concept of organic compounds as bases. So if a compound has unshared electrons, it has the potential to be a weak base and be a nucleophile and do that attack like a base. Finally, just to remind you, this chapter has a lot of important concepts that you need to understand, and it'll serve as a good basis for learning organic chemistry in the future. So take the time to make sure you understand the concept, ask questions if you don't understand. Again, on page 135 and 136, there's a good summary, and 141, there's a flow chart that can help you check your learning, make sure you understand. If you don't, then go back and study those chapters or ask questions in class. All right, that's it for today. Have a good day. Bye.